Welcome to Things Invest. We talk about investing, finance, or professional development. As the recording time of 12:21 p.m. on the Eastern Time, Ethereum coin traded $3,773, down about 0.53% so far. On the overall crypto market, the key coins are kind of flat at the moment. Bitcoin still up about 0.22%. Ethereum is down about 0.51%. While the altcoin side of the house, beside MagTech and Terra, or Luna if you may, both up on the green side, but not a lot, right? But the majority of the altcoin market is relatively down at the moment. But in comparison to the early morning, in a pre-market perspective, and when we were sleeping domestically, we have incurred relatively more of a severe sell-off, but subsequently normalized back to more of an ideal substantive consolidation level, right? And with respect to Ethereum, that's specifically at the 3,650. And as of earlier this morning, around like 8:50 a.m. on the Eastern Time, we bounced off of the resistance level of 3,650. And you could see clearly people have immediately bought up, which is the reason why you're seeing this mini candle, basically matching with the previous Saturdays that we've incurred, right? And just to remind us, like, as I've been keeping tabs on a daily basis, and I've been kind of keeping tracks of, the BS behind all the immediate affectation that we've been talking about. 2 Saturdays ago, the sell-off that got us to 3,650 was due to the FOMC meeting, right, ahead of the Joe Biden speech, on him depicting what's the economic outlook going forward, what's the timeline for quantitative tapering, what is the interest rate hikes, right? And we subsequently learned that he's not going to be increasing interest for this year. He has shaved the tapering from 120 billion to 30 billion on a monthly basis. But we do have 3 interest hikes that will be incurring next year. 3 specific ones for 2022, 2 specific ones in 2023, and then 2 other ones in 2024, right? So that's 2 Saturdays ago. And then last Saturday specifically, we had that anticipatory pressure ahead of the Joe Biden speech, right? Talking about what's the tactical next step with respect to the Omicron variant affectation, right? It seems like it's affecting, travel, it's affecting people in terms of just shortage, domestic front, right? So he has decided to deploy $500 million onto deploying 1,000 troops, right? To be supporting, regions in the U.S. that needs the most support, right? By opening up basically vaccination centers in local malls to public facilities, etc., just to fight Omicron heads on, right? And as we heard more from the most recent time frame, what's selling us down at the moment is just more Omicron affectation, right? We heard from Dr. Fauci, we heard from Joe Biden, I would say 2 days ago, based on the CNBC report interview, saying that we might have to have mandatory vaccinations for domestic travels. And also Joe Biden believes that, despite the $500 million that he has deployed, we might need to, spend more prioritization or emphasis in a federal budget perspective onto supporting this Omicron. And then just more media affectation around, crypto selling off because of the fact that people are losing patience, right? As Bitcoin break below 48,000, as obviously Ethereum breaks below $4,000. But again, $4,000 is not a substantive level, right? The real level is really between 4,150 and 3,850. We cracked through both of them. And the real level that we're seeing right now that is supposed to be the next substantive consolidation level would be the 3,650. So in the most recent time frame as of today, right, early this morning around 8:50 a.m. when I was still at the gym, we hit that level specifically, right? I know some of my friends, as I was reading to the comment sections, that you got into the dip, right? It's the logical move, right? Despite it just feels painful at the moment. But if you look at the technicals, we know that we're highly oversold at the moment right now. So if you believe in this asset class in the long term, you did the right thing. So I would actually, pat yourself on your shoulder and just say that you did the right thing despite the short-term pain that we're seeing across basically the asset class at the moment, right? And just checking the media front before I dive in straight into the technicals. I'd say the news are a little bit more revived compared to yesterday. I could have sworn that yesterday everybody was saying, breaking 48,000, just reminding more negative media affectation, just more worsening news around the Omicron, which despite is true, but there's no need to rub salt on your wound, right? And we are seeing some sort of self-fulfilling prophecy at the same time that as you constantly scream at the public investors on driving more fear, people are going to start freaking out, and you're going to start to really see the entire market flip, right? So, but for those actually understands, technicals, we can understand that these are buying opportunities. These are not opportunity for you to sell on a loss because you think we're going to sell even further. And I think we're relatively near bottom at the moment. It's just about a matter of being patient as we recirculate the monetary value. And then you will start to see more, obviously, fishy positive news that start to pop up here and there. And you realize that a lot of the crypto fluctuations is mainly driven by media affectation. It has a direct correlation to it. And for us, it's, obviously to read between the lines, understand what's the logics behind it. And I keep saying over and over again that the media affectation is mainly driven by a specific hidden agenda or incentive from the publication companies. They are obviously investors in crypto, and when they are driving some sell-off, it's either because they have a certain positions that they are in for that specific asset class that they basically try to capitalize from it by influencing the market a certain way. So in return, they will obviously take their profit, but at the same time, they could take profit away from the retail investors, right? So that's the reason why I could swear, just look into your history. Whenever you see negative news, right, and you sell on it, you always regret it, right? Just think about that. That's something that has occurred to you multiple times. Right, next thing you know, you're gonna start seeing like bright sky away, like in the span of like 48 hours, right? Again, it's the media curation that we have to detect, right? And ultimately, that's why technical is such an important methodology for you to basically use as a lie detector behind all the news that you see, right? So, beside reading all into this BS news, let's just look into the news front just to see anything that's really worth mentioning or worth knowing. I would say collectively it's a lot of news, or can you even call these news? It's coming from CoinDesk, The Economist, Bloomberg. It seems like some of the news are just more trivial, talking about with respect to the value proposition of Bitcoin, the fork, the EIP 1559 transition of the upgrade for Ethereum 2.0. What is the outlook for basically 2022 for these respective crypto assets? It seems like some of the news that I'm seeing today is shifting more towards the optimistic side of the spectrum. They start to see, and just to name one that's really interesting is that Yahoo Finance 3 hours ago talked about institutional investors are starting to take a serious look at Bitcoin in early 2022. I could have sworn that a couple of days ago we are saying the opposite side of the spectrum, that we're selling down, we're going to crash down to 20K for Bitcoin or even 10K, that it's going to be a bloody one, we're going to sell down by 70%. If you look back into my video, we have seen collectively that it's been quite dramatic, right? It feels like the news are quite bipolar, right? Recent time frame, and to do that is because of the holiday spirits that try to kind of jerk your emotions in a way to shake you off. So I actually read some of the comments in my comment section that is this a test, a psychological test that they try to shake the weak links off in the pool of the investors that we have right now, and the ones that actually hold on, or how you would call it, diamond hands, would actually be rewarded royally going forward. And I think that's really what it is. And I start to see that, just another one I'm seeing on the news right now. Cointelegraph 3 hours ago talked about Bitcoin dips below $47,000. But multiple traders are eyeing this as a consolidated, solidified risk-reward ratio for holding Bitcoin long-term at this level. Isn't that quite interesting that we're starting to see some optimism in in comparisons to the negativity that we've seen collectively, right? So, okay, I think we all get the point that I'm trying to make, right? You know, the spidey senses is definitely tingling, and it's always great to be, you know, just staying within the logics, using the technicals to detect the truth. So, with respect to recording time of 12:32 p.m. on the Eastern Time, right now we are hovering above the 3,750, which is technically not really a resistance level. This is just a level of consolidation. The real level is somewhere around like the 3,650. And at the moment right now, we are at the 39 out of 70. So we know that we are very close to being oversold. But I'll give that benefit of the doubt that we're quite oversold right now. And at the same time, we just formed a def cross recently. So do we see more sell-off? Possibly, right? But we know that we are relatively depleted already. So I think the worst we'll get to is, again, right, 3,650, which we got there, or try to get there. We're basically about like $30 away. And I know you guys actually bought in on the dip. And I don't foresee the sell-off is going to get even worse than that, right? Knowing the fact, I know that we just formed a def cross, but you could see that the angle or the curvature of this def cross is not that severe in comparisons to other coins, like, for example, AVAX, Luna, and MagTech, which we'll dive into a bit, right? So I think Ethereum right now is still a good buy at the moment, despite how negative the media front is. But you can also see some sort of a revival on the media front already in a span of just like 12 hours, right? Bitcoin is currently below the 47,800. So right now, just contemplating where we're going, right? With the 40 out of 70. So still not terrible, not the best, not the worst, right? But right now, in terms of like incurring risk for long term, I think it's still a good bet for us, right? If we gotta form a def cross, which we'll see that we are trying to get to slowly, the worst we'll get to will be 45 to 43 from there. Dogecoin at 17 cents right now, anywhere from the 16 to below would be still be a better level, right down to 41 out of 70, with about to form a def cross as well. So multiple def cross that's being formed right now, but knowing the fact that it gets cancelled out by the RSI, I feel relatively okay with us incurring risk at the moment, you know, because of the fact that the RSI is already depleted despite the def cross. So that means that we're not going to sell down a lot. We're going to sell down, but we're not going to sell down like as severe as, you know, compared to other altcoins that we talked about. Cardano is now about close to 3% right now. We are contemplating, do we break below 135, right? We are basically 1 cent away, right? And I think as we deplete to like the 120, that's a good level to incur risk because that's a really consolidated level. I don't see $1 coming. I think that will be relatively absurd because of the fact that we'll be basically drilling oil if we actually get there. Solana is now about 4% right now. Again, 155, 133, 113 is still better level for us. I don't see 66 at all despite the yellow line, but that's because that's the next level of consolidation. So I think 155 is coming, and I think that's a good level to start incurring some risk, right? XRP is down about 4% as well. As we get to 78 cents, that's a good level to incur risk. I think that's when we will be depleted to below 35 on an RSI scale. So that's the logical risk for you to incur. Polkadot down about 2% right now. Anywhere from the 25 to below would be a good level. I don't see us selling down further because of the fact that we're relatively depleted still. So as we get down to the $23, we're going to be below and drilling oil. So that's a good dip for us to get into. ALGORAND's down about 1.21%. Anywhere from the 135 to below is still a good dip right now with the 46. So yeah, 135 to 125. Obviously, anywhere in between is still a fair level to get in. Shiba Inu is down about 2% at the moment. I don't know what this news is about. It's just like popping up. Again, Shiba Inu anywhere from 29.50 all the way to 900 would start be the good frame to get into, right? I would start chipping a little bit just at the 2900 and then start getting more and more aggressive as we get down to the 1000-ish level, right? MagTech is down. It's up about 2% at the moment. We're going to be in for a sell-off. This is just something we know. We're in a relatively more of a dramatic downward trend on the MACD, and we're gonna show a relatively more dramatic depth cross. And as we form this depth cross, and at the same time we're relatively still at the upper echelon of the neutral level, that means we're gonna sell off more dramatically in a percentage perspective. So 175 to 143 is still a good dip for us, right? AVAX down about 1%. I would say we are in the depth cross right now with still at the 50. So yeah, 81 to 60 is still a better level for us. Luna is up about 1%. We are forming a depth cross. You can see how dramatic the curvature is. We're still at the 60 out of 70. So we're going to sell down to 62, 52 to 45 from there. Those are the levels that I will respectively risk mitigate from those levels. And then for elrond, we're relatively depleted right now, as we know. We are basically drilling oil at the moment. We are at the, how much is it? 38 out of 70 right now. So these are levels that I would ideally dollar cost average at for Bitcoin, Ethereum respectively. We're basically around the attractive and steal levels already. So ultimately use this as your reference, right? These are my conservatism. And hopefully you find this helpful in terms of, understanding how my brain works, how my methodology applies to dollar cost averaging and risk management. And so it's definitely a volatile couple of days, right? But if you can think clearly and triangulate with the BS news that you see sometimes and understand that people are typically emotional creatures, but if you can basically filter out all of those emotions and just look into the charts and understand how the risk management level will be dissected, you will be doing just fine, right? In a long-term fundamental value proposition perspective, right? So really appreciate you for joining me again, and hope you guys all have a great Wednesday again, and stay tuned to come up. Take care.